Hi everyone, welcome back to CCTT. Today we're going to be looking at upgrading the TTLevel20GT. This is the RGB. If you look online, you're going to see a lot of reviewers who comment on higher than expected thermals that come from these cases. And a lot of the reasons why is because of what ends up being the most attractive part of the case, which is the glass that surrounds most of these cases. In this particular case, the glass surrounds both the side panels and also the front. And in this front panel, you'll see that there is very little area for the air to get through. And along the edges, essentially, are the two gateways that allow air to travel in. They are, which is really nice, they do have the mesh that is included on the inside. And that mesh does help keep out the dust. Unfortunately, it takes a lot of power for these two 200 millimeter fans to push and pull all that through. So today what we're going to do is figure out how to double the opening from what appears to be around 1/4 of an inch, and we'll make it to 1/2 inch by only doing a few simple modifications to this. What we're going to do is first you have to go find your most recent purchase of a wall mount for a LCD or monitor, and you're going to see a packet that looks like something like this, and you're going to have various screws for any type of TV that you might have. Inside of that packet, you are going to find, and I don't know if these are specific to MD, but they are the 3/4 inch, and they have the flat head on them, and they have a fine thread. And you're also going to find 1/4 inch little donuts. And I'm going to get closer for you so you can see these. But the donuts are just little gaps or little stoppers. They're kind of like washers, but they allow space between your bracket and the TV itself when you put your mount on. So we're going to take 4 of those 1/4 inch, and we're going to take the 3/4 inch, and we're going to take 4 of those. To pull off the glass in the front of this, there are only 4 screws that are holding them in, or 4 bolts, 2 here, 2 here at the bottom, and they come off really easy. So once you pull them off, I'm going to take the first one off. You're going to notice that they're about 1/2 inch, maybe just a little bit less than 1/2 inch in length. Thus, the reason why we're going from 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch is because we have a 1/4 inch extra that we're going to need when we put in our gap. So I pulled these off. You may have yours maybe a little bit tighter. I pulled mine off before because I was trying to figure out how to modify this. Make sure you have both fingers on the bottom of this when you put it down and you're not putting it on metal. And take a screwdriver, gently push it into the inside, and pop that one out, and pop this one out, and then on this side, and that's how you pop those out. Don't put a lot of pressure on there because you're going into the threads. So on the inside, you'll see that you have your 4 stops here, and basically these are the nuts that are mounted to the glass itself. On the back side, you'll have in here 4 of the cavities that these actually mount into. And what we're going to do is we're going to be placing our 1/4 inch rounds inside of that, and that's going to create a gap. So now if you hear me sniffing, that's because where I'm at, there's a lot of pine pollen that's finally come in, and I am somewhat allergic to it. So we're going to put this off to the side for right now. We're going to put with the thermal tape facing me, you just simply put these little spacers, all 4 of them, 1 on each one of these little gaps, and that's it. Take your case, now remember the thermal tape is facing closest to you. The bottom of the case is where you put in to pull off the top, so it's going to be this little area right here. That's what you're going to want. If you do it backwards, it's going to look awfully funny when you put your case back on. Put this back on top, you should be able, they should just fit right on. Now, instead of replacing those with 1/2" screw, you're going to use the 3/4 inch bolts. And you simply just come in here and make sure I have this on right. There we go. You want to kind of feel around a little bit with it. Just the opposite side. Here. Pop it on the opposite side. Now when you tighten these down, remember you're tightening it into metal, which is fine. However, when you are tightening it down, there is glass on the other side, so don't completely wrench down on it. Just give it enough so that it just barely stops without very much pressure at all, because it'll stay in without much pressure. Okay, now we want to test it, make sure that we've got it where it should be at, lined up. Now here you'll notice there should be no gap and very little gap here. There, on the inside you can actually see 1/8 of an inch on both these, which is new because when it was flat in there, there was no gap at the top, no air gap here. So this now allows for additional airflow. And bring it over to you, you can now see that it's not completely flat, but you can see the edge of the glass. And what's more important is now you can see inside of here, you've now increased your depth with about, between the bottom bracket and here, almost 1/4 of an inch. So you've basically doubled your air intake capacity for this without having modified it too much. Now, you could, under I guess the best of circumstances, you could find the 1/2 inch gaps, and you could put those in there. Now, the problem with that is, number one, it's not going to fit as nicely in here because you're going to be relying completely on this. There are little grooves inside, there are protruded grooves that are on the back side of this plate, that when you put it on, it doesn't sit completely perfectly flat. So when you screw it in, you're going to be using a 1-inch screw, and so that's going to be really just holding the glass on. You're not going to have the support that you would normally have. This right here does have a little bit more solidness as you move it in. So once you get this on, then you're going to finalize it, and I would do just 1/4 of a turn, and then do it on the opposite side. I wouldn't do any more than that. Tightening it too tight may shatter the glass because you put too much pressure on. And that is how you upgrade this. Now the advantages of doing it this way, number one, although the glass is raised a little bit, you're not going to run into having closed catch on it. It's not so far out that you'll be bumping against the glass. You're going to hit, most likely, you're going to hit the edge if you do run a hand across it. So you're not really throwing this too far out, but you do increase the depth by about 1/4 of an inch. And like I said before, when it's sitting down there, you only have 1/4 inch, so you've raised effectively and you've doubled the air intake flow space. Now, what that ends up being, I don't know. If you go to Gamers Nexus and look at what Steve says, it's possible this isn't going to make as much of a difference as maybe removing this completely, and that's one of the options. Because this does have the mesh, if you're finding your case is getting extremely hot and you're not just getting enough filtration or enough air in there, enough flow, simply take this off. Now, my biggest issue with that is, number one, the whole point of paying as much as you do for these cases is because you want to have this nice glass in the front. The second one is this protects that mesh. Mesh is not very strong. It's not designed to be strong. It's designed to catch dust. So little kids and individuals who don't know much about computers, if they happen to stick their hand, or if you inadvertently try turning off or reach for something and you hit it, you're going to hit this, and you might, because this is basically mounted from the back side, pressure on this side may actually push this mesh into the fans, and you may ruin your fans or any other thing. So I don't recommend that. However, it is a possibility that you could use And again, this is all to try figuring out a way to get more airflow with the two 200mm fans that are in front of the case. Now when I mount this back on, I'll show you. We are running the Threadripper 1950X inside of the case that I have, and so it can get really toasty. And remember, this is the workstation case, and I was getting some significant temperature increases because I had those 10 hard drives that are all now mounted in there. Anyways, I want to thank you for joining us. I'll come back later on and let you see what the case looks like with this finally mounted. Okay, we're back. We're going to mount this on top. So again, the mount, there are 6 mounting areas. The 2 on the top are the ones that are on top, are the ones that connect, and the other ones are just guides. So when you put these back on, you want to put it to the top and kind of set it in, moving it in as close as you can, and then put just a little pressure on the plastic. Do not touch the glass, because now the glass is protruding. Pop it in the middle, and kind of push in, and it should fit in perfectly. Now your glass is not going to harm you because it's too close. I haven't heard a lot of change inside of my fan. I can clearly see where the gap is now. Before, that gap was so small it was really difficult to see. So the workstation is now finally up. What I'm going to do is turn the camera around and let it look at the screen, and we're going to see whether or not there's a difference in the degrees and temperatures, and we'll just be using the Asus app for that, the AI3. Okay, we are now looking at the screen. I have it on fan control. What we're going to do is we're going to take a peek down here at the temperatures, which is really handy. And the PCH is at 54 degrees. CPU is at 36 degrees. Motherboard is at 25. And so that's not too bad. And then my extension sensor number 1 is at 38 degrees. And sensor 3 is at 26 degrees. VRM is at 38 degrees. Now that is currently with this on, not under load. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop this off and see whether or not those temperatures come down if there's additional airflow. That, without under a load, we should see a drop in the temperatures. So I'm going to pop this off real quick, and I'm going to jump through the screen. This is off now, and we'll just watch it. We're at 54 degrees right now, 36 still in the CPU. Let's take a look at the motherboard. 25 degrees still. VRM still at 38. There's not much of a change with it on or with it off, which is what we want. Now I do know that these numbers, when I first did it, were a 2 degree difference. The PCH and motherboard were running around, the motherboard was running around 28 degrees up to almost 30 degrees, and a PCH was running around 55, 56. So I'm going to pop this back on real quick. Basically the numbers have stayed. The decibel rating is around 33 now. This is on standard mode. I've got this, I'm going to put this on the inside so you can see what it is for the inside, but right now we've got it on standard mode, which is basically what the motherboard figured was the best. So I'm going to put this on the inside. On the inside of the case, it's running at 43, so 10 decibels higher on the inside. Around 33 decibels on the outside. One decibel higher nearest the fans in the front. decibels at the top or higher, running at 36. So it's not bad. Now, full speed, when this thing is up and running, the outside is about 45 decibels. .54 on the inside. We're gonna flip it over to silent mode. 31 to 32 is essentially what we're getting per decibel read on silent mode. Now, temperature-wise, it's gonna start creeping back up there. So it's not one of those situations where I would like to keep it on silent all the time. But one of the biggest deals that I have with this particular motherboard is that if you let it go to sleep for any reason and it wakes itself back up, it doesn't like to play well with the thermal take fans. And so the fans go into a preset, basically somewhere at that turbo level and maintain, and it gets really loud. So that becomes an issue. But for the most part, this case does run really well without having a lot of excess noise, if in fact you keep it running the entire time and don't let it go into sleep mode. So our whole array is here, and these little fans are just, they pull all and wick off whatever heat they can from the front side. The two big fans, unfortunately, they run into this this array, and as a result, the air's got to go around them and somewhat through them, but they're not as well spaced as the thermal take design. You just don't get nearly as many in with the thermal take a hard drive bays. So anyways, love this case, love what it can do. I love the Threadripper. It's been a powerhouse. It's truly a workstation / server.